Hey everybody, welcome to another segment of Tony's show. And I'm going to cause a little bit more controversy here. I like controversy. You know why? Because for some of you, you'll run, stick your head up your backside, smell your own crap, and go on with your life. Life is normal for you. That's what you do in your life. This is what it's all about. But to some of you get all argumentative, and then you said, well, I'll prove this guy wrong, and then start to look. And look, and look, and look. And some of you will actually come to the truth. You know what the Bible says, he who has eyes to see, let them see. He who has ears to hear, let them hear. So I'm all for letting you see it and hear it, and then you decide. How does that grab you? No debate, no need for an argument. You do your own homework. The more you pursue the truth, the more the truth will come to you. And I'm going to tell you something about the truth. You may not always like what you see. In fact, 99.9% of the time, you're not going to like it at all. And then when you do see the truth, I'm going to tell you something else about it. You're going to be really bloody pissed. Pissed because you've been maneuvered, manipulated, controlled, directed, misdirected, screwed with. And as a result, the way you're living today and how you're living today has all been based on a lie. All of it. The choices you made, who you married, the choices you made, the jobs you took, the choices you made in the environments you live in, that everything that you've chosen has all been based on a lie because of the compilation and the dramatizations that they have created through the media to direct everybody's flow of thinking. And when you begin to see this, then you begin to realize how important the media isn't to you, and how much of the media you shouldn't listen to, and how much of the media that you're watching is nothing more than a dramatization. Even the Twin Towers effect, I remember watching that, and then I remember watching a guy who actually took the video apart and said this was all fabricated, that there were no airplanes. And I thought, that's a little odd. Then I started seeing people that were actually interviewed that were right there that day at that time. And they said the same thing, there were no planes. And I'm thinking, well, what the heck happened here? So what happened was they created a dramatization that two buildings came down, which they did, but not because two airplanes had hit them. It was because something else, something internal had caused that problem. And it looked like a demolition to me. And then watching some other people talking about the dust factor and the volume factor, the volume of rock should have been 40 feet high, not 12 feet. So something happened, some directed energy weapon or some frequency or something, quantum, had caused the dust particles or the particulates to come down and basically pulverize them even further. And all that dust that was floating in the air was all now on a nano scale. Imagine that. And as a result, a lot of people have died as a result of breathing in that dust. But this is another take on it. And whether you agree with it or not, that's not the point. But the point is, the media itself is nothing but drama school. Watching the news is like watching bullshit on levels you can't imagine. And the bullshit they want you to believe is just astounding. And some of the things that they put out there, it's done in such a dramatical way. We'll go to the coronavirus for a second. 3 weeks ago, they didn't know what to do with it. 3 weeks. 2 weeks ago, they discovered a protein that might lead to a vaccination. A week later, now they're on the verge of testing a vaccination. Nothing moves that fast. Unless, perhaps, you already had it ready to go. Even with artificial intelligence, you could probably come up with something pretty quick. You could probably analyze it, dissect it, whatever. After all, it is thinking at 50 million computations per second, which is pretty fast. So it can come up with certain things, but just because it comes up with the answers doesn't mean it's even correct, is it? And there have been errors with AI just in driving and what it had interpreted. So it's not something I would feel quite comfortable with, that it's not infallible. It's not infallible. It's not necessarily correct all the time either. But see, they've got everybody in a state of comfort and in the state of, and they keep you in this circle. Then the alternative people get in there and they also keep you in this circle. They keep you perpetuated in this thought and this panic and this concern and all this anxiety. And then you run to a health food store buying shit you don't need, shit that won't work. I mean, I'm calling it what it is. It's just shit. And you spend hard-earned money, hard-earned sweat on products that are contaminated with silica and aluminum and titanium, with soy, aborted baby materials, artificial natural flavors, polymer materials that can actually grow networks in the body, and all kinds of stuff in these vitamins or supplements. And you don't read those things either, which you should. A lot of you are buying stuff that are garbage. I sometimes make a mistake. I think I'm getting a good product, and I look at the label, and I'm thinking, what's going on here, blah, blah, blah. And then I buy the thing, and I get back and go reread the label, and I said, crap, I missed this, and I throw it away. We need to really recognize that in these times, biblically it says that even the elect might be deceived. And I think we really need to stand there, and it doesn't matter who you are here, whether you're a believer or non-believer. The game here is about, again, deceiving you, maneuvering you into a position where you become completely dysfunctional or compromised. That's the name of the game. That's the name of the game. To become completely incapacitated. Completely incapacitated. I was reading something earlier today. I was sharing it with a friend. We were talking. And somebody sent me from Romania a site to go look at about women stalkers. Women stalkers. I said, okay, I'll go check it out. I've had a situation like that happen to me once, a long time ago, and it's not a very pleasant situation. But anyway, so I read this. So now they've got women stalkers that literally are going after men. So you men better be careful here, and I'm pointing this out. There are women out there that are stalking men so they can decapitate their balls, literally, consume their testicles. And I'm not talking in a pleasant way. I'm talking consumption, like, chew them up, swallow, and deprecate them out the other end. This is the world we live in today. Not everything is what it appears. And we need to really stay focused on this kind of stuff. And some of you guys might say, well, nothing going to happen to me. I'll kick her ass. I'll beat her up. Look, some of these people are demonically possessed. And no matter how powerful you think you can be, you might be surprised at how easy they can overwhelm you. And I'm pointing this out so that you understand that this is the world we live in today. It's not a fun place. It's a shithole. It's a demonically possessed planet, and it's designed on a regular basis to consume you and to take you out, incapacitate you, make you dysfunctional. And you got to prepare your mind and your body and your heart to hear the truth and stick with it. So a lot of us heard the truth, and we kind of didn't really know what it was saying. And it's not until you get your backside caved in, and I mean, go through tough times in life, you begin to realize the wisdom of the words that you were taught when you were younger. And you begin to see the things that you should have saw then, but you didn't because you're too busy being preoccupied with the distractions of life. Getting a job, buying a house, getting married, going on dates, playing baseball, watching sports. Which none of these things are bad, but they had preoccupied a lot of us. And it stays as a preoccupation. So what winds up happening is you don't see the things as you should until something climatic happens and you begin to feel what you need to feel to wake you up, the wake-up call. And I'm presenting this because we are coming into this year. It's already started, and I'm thinking now as well, with the stock market going down because they can't get the Asians to go to work in China because they're afraid they might get these viruses. They're going to be transferring a lot of wealth to Vietnam, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Thailand, the Philippines, Indonesia, India. These will be the places where a lot of this wealth is going to go. And then after about a year, when China gets back on its feet, it'll now have these other partners to compete with. But I'm also thinking that this may be where the American dollar may now start to feel the pinch of the effect of this, and that the stock market not only will go down, but it may also bring down the American dollar. That is a possibility. That's what I saw today with what's going on, and I'm saying this. I'm not an expert at this at all. But you begin to see patterns over time. You see some of these patterns are repetitive, and it appears to be that that's the next thing that's going to happen. You have to understand that, again, the whole concept of keeping you in a state of dysfunctionality or in a state where you're completely compromised is what it's all about. Because if they can control your economics, if they can control your capacity to earn money or to sustain a certain lifestyle, and they can control that, they can control what you eat, when you eat it, how much you're going to eat, where you're going to shop, where you're going to buy. This is part of taking away your autonomy. And I'm pointing this out again so you begin to see certain patterns, even in health. Health has become a joke. A total joke. I said this in the last video. They're now going to have this vaccine out probably within a week or two, perhaps. And they're going to manufacture this vaccine, and they're getting it probably in China, and they're going to further inject the population, because now you have put a scare in the population of the Chinese. Now all the Chinese are afraid they're going to die of this virus. So they will literally line up to get this program injected into their arm. And I'm calling it a program. Not an infectious disease, but a program that causes infection. It's a word play on the way I'm saying it, because an infection comes from a disease. Diseases cause these infections to occur as a result of dominating the body's immune system or dominating the body's genetic code. When you put a program in, the program then is designed to activate and to bring on an issue. That's what's going to happen. To be a big difference. One, the issue is already there and it's manifesting what it does. The other one, it's there and then it initiates the pathology or initiates the infection that is meant for you to have. That's power. That is power over everybody. Forced vaccinations is the game here. And I'm saying this again, no country should have a forced vaccination policy. Period. Take your chances. If you get something and you die, you're dead. That's it. You moved on. You've left this shithole. You have left the shithole. You are now entering to the pearly gates or to the kingdom of the Almighty. Hey, that's a pretty good deal. Let's leave here and go home. Anyway, maintain your stand and don't allow whatever they're presenting on the media to in any way, shape, or form sway you, because I'm going to tell you something. You take that vaccine, you are going to regret it. I assure you. If I've been talking about nano-infections, nanobiotech infections, and you get that vaccine, whatever I have been talking about will be magnified by 100 for you. I assure you. Now, let me get on the WHO. The WHO. WHO. Not talking about the rock and roll band. No. I'm talking about that global organization that is supposed to be protecting the Europeans and the planet in general. They're doing a shitty job, but that's par for the course. These people are, after all, paid for by the pharmaceutical industry, by the corporations that make drugs and manufacture them, by the medical industry, And these are the organizations and institutions like Kodak's and the FDA and the Chinese FDA and other institutions, the Health Protection Branch of Canada, that create the regulations for health and living and so forth and so on. And yet, in the most infinite of wisdom that these organizations have, in the last 60 years have not cured anything. In fact, every time they've injected somebody, there has been a side effect of some kind and some magnitude, and then they cover it up. And then you go on continually assuming that what you have, what you're seeing is above board. But if you ever looked at the CDC pictures of people who've had vaccinations that have problems, like I said, you would not go near a needle. But that is not displayed. What you see displayed is a doctor, and she's smiling, or he's smiling. He's got his nice dressed white coat, overcoat, and stethoscope, and he's got this child, and he's rubbing the child's arm, and he's got the needle going to the arm. The child is smiling, and everything is all lovely-dovey and blah-da-da, and that's the bullshit of the day. I don't know about you, but every time I went to a doctor and he pulled out a needle, I was ready to leave because I knew it was going to hurt. But he stuck it in the arse or he stuck it in the arm, I knew it was going to hurt, and I wanted no part of it. But I had parents that had restrict me from leaving. My point to you is pay attention. Don't allow yourself to be again misled. You're going to hear more shit and bullshit about this coronavirus than one could shake a stick. And more it's coming out about frequency activations. I'm saying it's 6G, not 5G. The Asians are in 6G, not 5G. America's in 5G. Other countries, Canada's in 5G. India's in 7G. They're not going to be using a 5G technology when they got something more advanced and more lethal. That's my take on it. But go ahead and look and start looking at it. Now, I got a bunch of links I'm going to put here tonight on the terahertz frequencies so that when you look at these things, you can see the nature of the terahertz bandwidth, what damage it can cause, and how they disrupt the body. I've been telling people for the longest time about terahertz frequencies, how it's a multiple frequency, what's infrared and microwave, and when they hit the body, they affect the cellular matrix of the body. They release the fluids, the water from the cells, using the hydrogen as a high-powered superconductor, further decimating the mitochondria. If you wipe out the mitochondria, guess what? You'll drop like a stone. That's what I saw happening in China. I knew right off the bat that whatever hit them had caused severe damage to the mitochondria, and they dropped. They didn't fall, they didn't slouch, they didn't drop to their knees and then fall over. They dropped like somebody turned the switch off and everything let go. So you're going to have here interesting studies to look at on terahertz radiation, directed energy weapons, neural frequency weaponry, ultra thin, ultra photo transistors using hybrid superstructure. Imagine putting one of those into a vaccination and injecting that into a person's body. The fun you could have with the frequencies, eh? This is not the Twilight Zone. This is not Fringe. This is not the Outer Limits. This is the world we live in today. The crazy things that are going on today, and how people are becoming more and more attached to the technology to such a degree that now they're going to chip you to your technology. It'll not only have access to your DNA and to your mind, it'll now have access to all of you. All of you. Imagine that. Imagine that. Okay, I also put on here, Chelating agents. Chelating agents are basically agents that you can take into the body that can help remove toxic metals or heavy metals from the body. In case of the nano poisoning, heavy metal would be referenced as a huge congestion or agglomeration or aggregation of particulates in an environment. In other words, in a cell, you may have tens of thousands of nanoparticles in a cell, depending on the size. So the density of the and volume of the nanoparticulates make them a heavy metal. So to get them out, you have to use something pretty potent that can bind to that volume. If it cannot bind with that volume, you're in a situation where you have to repeat the process. But these will help you come up with ways and ideas in creating chelating agents. Important that you know this, because the more of this stuff you pull out, especially the aluminum, the barium, the strontium, the other radioactive materials, other metals like barium and aluminum, you need to get these things out. You need to get out all the crap that they're dumping on you. You need to get all the smart bots, smart sensors, anything that they got programmable that they put in the food supply will be inside of you. So you need to remove some of this stuff so that it can help you. Carbon nanotubes and their toxicity. I put this on there because somebody was telling me that somebody is using this carbon C60. So if they want to forward this to that person, they can. I don't know why anybody would use carbon C60. I don't see any value to it. I don't see any means to it. Carbon and silica are very much alike. In fact, their properties are almost identical, except that the carbon is more conductive. But as far as being conductors, they're both conductors and they both function the same way. One is organic, which is the carbon, and one is inorganic, that's the silica. So if they're using even silica to create structured waters, they're causing you damage because that silica will be, the particulates will be in the fluid, and if it's in the fluid, you cannot break it down and it will translocate into your system. Shining a new light on biometrics. They are now using, or biomimetics, in other words, they're taking synthetic materials that they're creating, hybrid materials, and they're creating what appears to be an eye of some kind that can not only take light, but it also can reflect it back. They are building stuff you have no idea in regard to what they're building. And the building materials that they're putting together today, it's all for war. It's not about your health. It's all for war. About having the advantages of the technology to make a better military industrial complex. You need to pay attention. You need to pay attention. I'm not kidding. These things they're building that we're reading, that I'm putting out here, this is all about weaponizing us, a facsimile of us that they will create. Imagine if they take your DNA, incorporate that DNA into that machine, and then they tell that machine to lock onto that DNA and then to seek and destroy. Imagine that. How are you going to outsmart that? It's got your DNA. What are you going to do? How are you going to defeat this? These are questions you need to ask yourself. If you were in a situation, see, I'm provoking thinking here. If you were in a situation where you had a swarm of robots coming at you, and they had your DNA signature so they can hunt you down and find you, and as I said, seek and destroy, what would you do? How would you circumvent that concept? How would you, get through it? Remember, they can go through walls, they can go through any flooring. They basically don't stop until they reach their agenda. So what would you do? How would you defeat that? How would you go about it? What could you possibly do? I'm not going to give you any answers. There's lots of different answers you can do. But you might want to look at some of the patents on electromagnetic frequencies, electromagnetic guns, electromagnetic pulses. You might want to start paying attention to these type of things. You might, out of curiosity, may want to build one. Who knows? It might come in handy one day. Somebody's saying I'm talking a lot of sci-fi, am I? Not from where I read. Pay attention. All right, they came out with a concept of using metal could be linked to new antibiotics. Well, this is nothing new. If anybody who's made the garlic formula that I've shown, the garlic and MSM, and have added anything to it like zinc or copper or selenium, would have made something very similar to this. A very powerful antibiotic with biocidal properties. This is where it's going. I put a recipe here. I put it on the chart so you can, look at the recipe and make it yourself. Not hard to do, not hard at all. You may find when you make it, it will be strong. So only use like a gram. A gram would be like 1/5 of a teaspoon. Okay, 1/5 of a teaspoon. Keep that in mind. So when you're making this, all right, and basically what you're going to do is you're going to take a whole bulb, not just a clove, a whole bulb, peel it. What I do to peel it, I take the garlic bulb, I put it in a jar, I lid the jar, and I shake it really good. And what happens is it takes the shell off the garlic. All you gotta do is pull out the garlic. It's already peeled off, and just add it to whatever container you're going to use. I used a mason jar, 125 ml mason jar, which is about 4 ounces. So what I did is I put the whole bulb in that 4-ounce container. I added butter. I sliced off a bunch of butter. I added one dropper full of copper, 1 dropper full of zinc chloride, 1 gram of, well, I didn't put the manganese in there, but you can put 1 gram of manganese. I put other things in there. I put vitamin A and selenium. You can add selenium, 1 milligram. Lid the jar with a blade. My mason jar, I can use the osterizer blade for whipping things up. So I use that. If you can't do that, put the materials in a blender and just use a blender. It'll work just as well. Blend till all smooth, then turn the blender off. Turn off blender, lid jar, or pour into another jar and refrigerate. In other words, take it out of the blender, pour it into a jar, and then put it in the refrigerator. And use 1 gram at a time. This stuff will be a butt kicker. So use 1 gram at a time, and if you're sick, use 1 gram every 3 hours until you knock out whatever's in the system. You basically created a garlic liposome antibiotic with minerals. Zinc and copper produce SOD. Zinc and manganese also produce SOD. And if you put anything else in there, again, it may make a difference. But by consuming this, you may find that a lot of things in your body that you're afflicted with, respiratory issues, cholesterol issues if you have a cholesterol issue, circulation issues, digestive disorders, this will all help in that realm when you utilize these products. So again, 1 bulb of garlic, a couple, and the butter, just put it into whatever you need to put in there to start it off, and just add more butter till you get to the smoothness and texture that you're looking for. Okay, and then just like I said, even if you're eating lunch meat or eating steak or eating chicken, whatever, or potato, pour some on there and eat it. It'll protect the sulfur, and it will bleed out the metals that might be in the meat you're eating. Imagine that, eh? It's a supplement that can protect the body, heal the body, and to create a protective effect on some of the foods you're eating as well. That is amazing. All right, so you'll have that formula as well, just so you know. You'll have the other information on the terahertz. Tonight I think it's going to be a quick show because I got other things I got to do, and I want everybody to have this information and then to have the terahertz frequencies. I want you all to start connecting the dots. Connect the dots, connect the dots, connect the dots. Follow what's going on, but think about what you're seeing. How much of it is just drama? How much of it is just bullshit? To put you in a state of fear, to put you in a state of anxiety or anxious energy. You start getting all nervous and shaking when you stand up for what's right, but you gotta start thinking. Don't just sit there and just follow it like a song, or follow it like some orator reading a See Jane Run. See Jane Run with Spot. Spot is her dog. Spot is running. Jane is running with Spot. Spot is getting the ball. Don't be that way. Think. Think. Do it in reverse even. If we could put the genie back in the bottle, what would we use? Things like that. It's important that you connect the dots, because you know what? I have talked to another friend of mine today, and he said when he was growing up, his parents and his family used to tell him, if you don't use your head, somebody will use it for you. That's pretty true. That's the truth in a nutshell. If you're not going to think, somebody's going to do it for you. And if somebody does the thinking for you, then the consequences, you're still going to feel the consequences, because you did not take the responsibility to take care of yourself. Instead, you allowed somebody else to do your thinking for you. What I'm presenting for you tonight is for you to go look up, analyze, dissect, and then go from there. Make up your own mind, make up your own decisions. But be aware of this very one fact. When we're dealing with nanomimetics or biomimetics, these are things that can act just like life. Whatever it may be, an eyeball, an ear, a piece of skin, a muscle, an organ, they can mimic whatever, and they can look like whatever. So when we're looking at the whole biomimetic, pay attention. Pay attention. A lot of things, when you start putting 1 plus 1 and you start getting 2 again instead of 54, you're on the right track. Alrighty, I'm always referring to a bunch of guys that I think are active and I think are trying to, help everybody come alive and come awake, helping everybody become more analytical. You got Yanni's he's got a blog by Aroy, so you got his link there. He's got his interview pages where he does interviews for different people. He had an interview with Shai not too long ago. He's got his own YouTube channel, so check him out. Support him any way you can financially as well. You got Brian396 and his dad in research. He's got the Minds channel. He's got a photo gallery as well. So go check out the photo gallery. Again, it's the you'll see the link there anyway. So anyhow, then you got me with the Augmented Force, which is a website that has a lot of data on nano. I would encourage all of you, since the information has already been collected, go check out the site. You may not agree with everything I'm saying, that's cool, but you owe it to yourself to understand the nature of nanotechnology, nanobiology. It's not meant for us, but anyway, you'll see that information there. Again, check it out. Look at the links, look at the nano links, nanotoxicology, whatever. I got a bunch of them there. Check them out. Share them with everybody or anyone's willing to listen. I've got the bit shoot. Again, let me remind everybody, I put 3 new vids up, part 1, 2, and 3 on a toroidal scrambler. Feel free to go and check it out. Build it, build it, build it. That includes the girly girls. Build it, build it, build it. Build it and they will come. Okay, then I got videos on YouTube, so again, go check them out as well. So again, feel free to help any of the guys that are doing stuff, are trying to get you to be awoke, trying to get you to think. Pay attention. All right, until the next segment, because I'm going to call a little earlier tonight. Until the next segment, to your health. We'll see you on the next show. Take care.